This video's going to show you a solo Master Nightfall getting platinum rank during this week, which the Nightfall is the Disgraced. Before I get into that, I just want to remind people, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already. Just a reminder to people, Grandmaster Nightfalls are launching as of next week, 25th of June. I feel as though Bungie's releasing these too soon. The activity power cap for them is 2020. So if you want to be at a minus 25 delta, which is standard GM practice, you want to be 2020 next week. Who the hell's going to be 2020 next week? Even some of the best players in the world are nowhere near 2020, right? I mean, I've grinded power to some degree. I think I'm 2011 max with all things considered when I get all my max gear on. But you realize that the leveling system slows up as you go because look, for me to get up now, right? Obviously, you do a couple of pinnacles, but I basically nearly 2,000 gear score all in on my drops. But for me to get to, from 2010 to 2020 would be millions of XP to farm it. Look at this, plus 12 to 13, so plus you've got to get 2.3 mil XP and then it'll go 2.4 and then 2.5 2.6. You understand that's a lot of damn XP. So who the hell's going to be 2020 next week? I feel as though they've released Grandmasters far too soon. I know there's the fire team power now in the game. I still think they should have allowed us a little bit more time to at least level up. 2020 is a ridiculous power requirement, like 3 weeks in on our third reset. So just a reminder, they're out next week. So there you go. So master modifiers are as follows. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it is the Disgrace, so we can expect barrier champs and unstoppables. The threat is arc, like always. The weekly modifier is attrition, which regeneration is greatly impaired, but defeating enemies create wells of light, which is never a problem really in Nightfalls. Arc surge, void surge is on, so you can consider those when using your stuff, but you don't have to too much. There's that old overcharged weapon kinetic mod on still. So there's that. And then there's overcharged glaive. Why is there overcharged glaive? Who the hell's using glaives? There's no artifact mods for glaives. Anyways, it's there. So speaking of artifact, this is what the setup was. Now, don't quote me on every single mod. I respec artifact daily. I'm not locked in. Hey, look, we have a reset button. Look at this. I reset it daily and look at things all the time. This is just what I used when I ran the Nightfall. So, the build. Prismatic Warlock with basically Stasis Turret, Arc Soul build. Super of choice, Song of Flame, definitely for Disgraced. Healing Rift, Arcane Needle, Storm Grenade, so we can consume it via our Getaway Artist Exotic Gauntlets. Aspects Feed the Void, Bleak Watcher, all standard stuff. Fragments is where people are going to mess up though. Facet of Awakening, Balance, Hope, Courage, Dawn. These are the best, I think. I know that Command was something, but Command's been nerfed, and I don't know how good it is now. But it doesn't matter, really, overall. What I would say is that I would have liked to use Facet of Dominance, but I don't have it unlocked. So there's that. But I like Facet of Awakening. It's plus 10 resilience for free. Gives you an elemental pickup based on the super that you do, that you have. So in this case, it would be Fire Sprites, I believe. And then if it's Void, it would be Breaches and so on and so forth. I quite like it. It's decent, but this is what the setup was. Obviously, we Getaway Artist. I won't go through all the mods. I'll just show you on screen what they were, right? We also used weapon-wise, anyways. So I highly recommend a rocket sidearm in this. It's unstoppable rocket. It's unstoppable sidearm. They're just the best weapon in the game. They're the best special weapon in the game right now. RISKRUNNER, I highly, highly, highly recommend RISKRUNNER. Even in a Master Nightfall, you're going to see how potent RISKRUNNER is. It suffers on some moments, but only for a momentary situation. That is it. I recommend a solar weapon because of solar shields. I didn't have to. I could have run something else. I could have run the Strand LMG, which is probably one of the best LMGs in the game because it's an aggressive frame. So if you want to use that Strand LMG, that aggressive frame LMG, use it by all means. I just ran a fixed odds because I wasn't sure what the solar shield would be like. Like, would it be beneficial to run fixed odds or not? And I just ran fixed odds anyways, and it done fine. I actually forgot to put backup mag in my fixed odds, so make sure you put backup mag in all your weapons. Just I only recently infused it. So that's the setup and everything. the final shape looms in quotation marks. There's going to be a secret mission in this Nightfall. There's new mechanics. The final shape looms. It's I told you. It's speaking to you. It's saying, hey, look, remember that D1 Nightfall you done? You took a left through that door and you got onto a freaking fallen ship, and you got Whisper. This is going to be similar like this, so keep watching it. 20 minutes and 12 seconds. You're going to see I'm going to take a left, secret door, secret exotic, boom, final shape, bumps from a 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. Just watch it, 2012, you'll see it. So we lead off with a turret, right? You always want to lead an encounter with a turret, always, of course, because your goal is to freeze everything and then get your turret back and then rinse and repeat this cycle whilst using other abilities. Now, I would say it's probably unanimous that the best melee for the Warlock is the Arcane Needle. Which it is. It is, because you're getting a tangle out of it, and you're getting a few charges. So, it's the one to choose. Now, on a Prismatic Warlock, you will change depending on what activity you're doing for the super. That's what I'm on about, the super. So, if you want burst DPS, you use a Void Walker with Cataclysmic. Well, you use the Void Super on Prismatic. Yeah, if you're talking exclusive about Prismatic right now, if you're like on a longer damage phase and you feel as though there's more time, or if you're just doing Nightfall stuff, generally speaking, the Song of Flame would be better because it lasts longer and it'll do more for you than what the Nova will do. The Nova will do better burst damage. It'll weaken targets as well due to the artifact mod. But generally speaking, for stuff like this Nightfall gameplay, just run Song of Flame probably, no matter what the surge is, just because of how good Song of Flame is. And you can stun champs whilst in your super. Nova Bomb, you can't do that, but obviously it's a one-shot thing. But let's say the Nova Warp, you can't stun a champ while you're in Nova Warp with a weapon. Song of Flame, you can do this because it's first person. So we've got a Devour Chain, and we're just going to keep killing odds with our abilities and Risk Runner. Risk Runner's going to keep overclocking for us. We'll occasionally throw in a Storm Grenade here and there because we don't need turret for every single usage. But it's just a case if we can clear rooms really easy, it's the best setup for this. And bear in mind, Master Nightfalls are minus 20 delta. Grandmasters are a minus 25 delta, providing that you hit the cap. That's the hardest thing, hitting the cap, like I said at the start of the video. Who the hell's going to be 2020 for that stuff? And then the high level guardians, you'll want them in your team to bump up your power level. So high level guardians next week are going to be such a huge commodity to people. People who are 1980 and stuff and like, I need to do GMs. They're going to be hitting me up. You help me do GM. You're 2015. Maybe. I'll maybe help. Yeah, so that's what it's going to be like. So, this is similar to GM gameplay, right? So I've run Disgraced GM quite frequently over the years. And I can honestly say when the GM version of this Nightfall comes out, it's going to be really easy. Let's be honest. Especially on a Warlock, especially with the ability spam that we've got, it's going to be no joke. Like, the difference between a Master and GM, in this case, because there's attrition on, so attrition's not a hard modifier. Togetherness is, but attrition isn't. This will be, like, a GM clear will be 5 minutes extra than this on this same loadout. If, say, I had access to GMs right now and I'd done a GM Disgraced, the run would be 5 minutes longer than this one. There wouldn't be much difference in it. That's what we're talking about, because the 5 between minus 20 delta and minus 25 delta, there's barely any difference. That's assuming you're 2020 in power, like I said. Some of you won't be. So that means you might be running a GM at minus 40 delta or minus 30 delta, making the GM harder, and it will make them slightly harder when you're running that far under power. So our goal is to clear out all the enemy spawns and leave barriers up. Here's the weakness of Risk Runner. It's done 10 out of 10 so far, right? I think we can all agree. 10 out of 10 so far. What it hasn't, or what it isn't going to do, is kill barriers from a range. Outbreak Perfected would be the GOAT for this. But I didn't want to do an Outbreak run on this particular run. Since I'm not, like, enthusiastic about Master Nightfalls as it is. They're just to fill the gaps until we get GMs. Once GMs comes out, I won't really be doing Master Nightfalls. There's no need to do them unless there's some sort of like ultra specialist farm that it's better to farm on Master or as opposed to GM because there's something going on. But that's not going to happen really, to be honest. So I'll be leaving Masters once this week's dealt with. Right, for me personally, I'll be leaving it. I won't be playing them. So, like I said, that's why I'm not gonna like do all 3 characters this week and like do this like for the Nightfall. That is, I'll do my run for the Nightfall and then I'll move on to something else because there's so much going on in the game right now. There's so many videos that I could make about guns, and I need to farm up some guns myself. Red patterns, Kavostov, the heavy trace rifle, Ergo Sun with its catalyst. Can you get a good roll on it with what it's got? Because it's got random rolls, different frames attached to it. There's all sorts of things, like what's that like solo? What's it like on Overload Champs? Because different blade. All this sort of stuff going on. There's loads. So this is where it's tough. So I knew that this tough. Before I loaded this up, I knew that, alright, RISKRUNNER is going to be really good first couple of rooms. It's going to be good at the boss, and then boom, terrible at the barrier champions. So that's where we're going to need to push up. Sorry, just someone's messing me. So yeah, so just push back a little bit, and we're going to try and clear out some of the acolytes that are bothering us, because that's what the issue is. So if we can push back a little bit and get out of the range drop off of the champs, because champs don't have infinite range on their attack. Their boomer attack has a range drop off. I would estimate it to be about 31 meters. Because I've got inbuilt Darcy in my brain. It's about 31 meters. Once you step in that radius, boom, they start firing at you. So our strategy now with the RISKRUNNER we need to adapt. I need to put adaptive munitions on. I put it on in my brain. That is to get next to this. What would we call this? Lockup thing, right? Use this as cover so the barrier could not hit us and then just melt him. Then we're in good range for RISKRUNNER to do its work. This is the next barrier that we go for. So I go for right and then the left champ. Now the left champ, they may port, so just be careful of that. But always have a piece of cover next to you. It's the biggest thing. It's like I said in the other video there. If you're fighting champs and you don't have a plan B to immediately strafe cover to, then you're fighting in the wrong spot. You're out of position. Position is so important on this. It's very important. So with the whole transference thing, when you transcend, use it as a ability to sort of, if you haven't got your super up and you need to immediately melt down a barrier and you're in a critical moment, that's when you should use it. That's how I was using it in this case, but I know there's other ways of using Transcendence to sort of keep it going and have mods built around that. Listen, we're not focusing too much on like Transcendence. We'll just use it when we get it. Look, I only just used it and I've got it back anyway. So you're going to get it plenty of times when you solo anyways. Because turret's dark energy, right? And then the axle's light energy. And then if we're using RISKRUNNER, that's going to give you even more light energy. You're just going to get plenty of Transcendence, alright? You don't need to know like every single thing. But use it when you don't want to use your super. So right now I didn't want to use my super, so I'll use Transcendence as a backup super type thing. Because you're going to get your special nades for the Warlock, which they do incredible damage. Plus you get ability spam for your arcane needles. So you'll just do more damage with your weapons as well. It's a weapon buff, the Transcendence. So there's a whole host of benefits with it. So that was the most difficult part for the RISKRUNNER, with the double champs on the podiums, wherever you want to call them. I knew that would be the difficult part. With Outbreak, it'd be completely different. You'd be able to take them from range really quick. But Outbreak wouldn't do as good of a job as AdClear in the first couple of rooms. And I don't think it's quite as good, in my opinion, as RISKRUNNER in this actual case. Because of RISKRUNNER's resistance. It stacks with everything. It will stack with your woven mails and all that sort of stuff. Also, keep amplified up to get galvanic armor. So that's another reason why this build's so good. I know people are complaining about the Warlock and that people are spamming this build. But listen, the reason why it is so potent is because you get a turret, which is the best it's the best utility kit in the game. This turret is. The turret is, in fact. Right? But not only that, when you proc your nade, you're getting amplified plus Axle. So you're getting galvanic armor, you're getting a turret, and then you then play into your facet of courage and stuff, where you do increased damage when you hit them with a darkness buff, which will be the turret, and then you can do massive damage with your light base super. It all intertwines perfectly on the Warlock. So much so that if I do anything endgame wise on a Warlock now on Prismatic Warlock, everything just dies and just goes. That's it. So without a doubt, like, the Warlock is Prismatic King at the minute. There's some builds on the Hunter as well with Stylish Executioner, which is also seems to be quite potent. And obviously it's got that DPS that other classes haven't got, maybe as good. Doesn't fill that role as good as a Hunter. So Hunter claims the king of like a DPS role. Warlock's got the ability spam role. Titan is the loser out of the three, unfortunately. But I did make a video the other day telling you how you can try to do DPS on a Titan if you get a particular class item like what I did. But even if like there's some OP builds on the Titan Prismatic, which there is, and Titan Prismatic's strong, man, it is, but it's not as strong as a Warlock. That's the thing. I think with the Titan, you'd be better off just running solar. Like a solar bonk Titan, I ran it the other week there on Dual Destiny, Melton. You'd be better just running a solar Titan over Prismatic Titan in some cases, or just a full-on Strand Banner of War Titan, rather than using Prismatic Titan. It's not the Prismatic Titan's fault. It's the aspects and the fragments that they give us. Consecration was a huge win. Knockout was a kind of a win, but there should be something else there. But they're gonna add fragments to Prismatic over time. Don't think they won't. They're gonna definitely add stuff to the toolkit. The fragments are in the game to add. They just need to click a button and switch them over. But they'll pose that as content as a later date. That will happen. So things will evolve, definitely. The double barriers, these are a nightmare. Now, the one's done a hunter dodge, and I needed a finisher kill, so I just went for it. I was tanky anyways. I felt really tanky to run this because of galvanic armor and stuff. So we'll use a bit of the sidearm as well. That's why the Call is the most used weapon in Destiny 2 right now. Well, rocket sidearms are. Let's say it that like that. The rocket sidearms are the most powerful special weapons in the game for utility. For just, they're not the highest burst damage weapon, no. But like when you're up against sworded enemies and you're in a hard combat experience, rocket sidearms are number one. There's a list saying the most used weapon so far has been the Call. Yeah? And you can rope Indebted Kindness into that as well, because that one's got Vault Shot. So, yeah, there's a reason. It's just because, like, they just do so much damage per shot and they're high mag. Just how good they are. So, before you push round this corner, you need to kill these Solar Wizards. This is the combat experience right now. You need to deal with these. Because you don't want to try and stun the champ whilst dealing with Solar Wizards, because they're going to push you and kill you. So take it in this order. So not only do you want to know enemy spawns, but you want to know in which way you kill them, right? So there's an order of which you kill them. In a lot of Master Nightfall GM style content, which way you kill them is important. But it all depends. Sometimes going faster is safer, right? Like ad clear wise. Like if you go a little bit quicker, but you know exactly what you're doing and you've got a build for it, that ends up being a safer way. Like say you need to cap a plate, like Birthplace of the Vow or something, that ends up being safer because then you don't have to recontrol the area and do all that stuff. Whereas sometimes backing up your play as well is helpful to sort of play passive aggressive as well. So right here I've got a super to use, and I want to use it because this bit I don't like, because you're at this hill, you're getting what it is. The problem is we can't deal with the barrier up on the ledge because we have not got a ranged barrier weapon on. So we have to do the things, the champs in a different order. So what we do is we melt the enemies that are on that hill. We then push up to the double barrier at the back and kill these first. So we're dealing with the easiest barriers first. In this particular case, it's unique to this loadout, and then we go for the barrier on the ledge because you've got to jump up. Well, I had to jump up, which just made it easier because we want to get a turret right where the barrier is, and that's just what I did. But if I did use a ranged barrier weapon, I would have taken the barrier on the ledge from the bottom of the hill. There's a place to stand for that. That's exactly what I would have done, and I've done that in the past on this particular Nightfall. So yeah, this night, like I said, depending on loadout, this barrier can be the worst one. Honestly, I'm actually going to pop Transcendence and absolutely miss my jump. Fantastic. I'm going to pop Transcendence and get a good nade down, and then because that'll freeze him. That'll freeze him. On this particular nade freezes. That's why it's good. They've also got the best. Well, Titan's got the worst prismatic nade, although it is decent, but it bounces around, people are saying, and it does. It bounces like a suppressor grenade. It's meant to, but the problem with that is ranged bosses, it just bounces off the head. Try and do it at Ward's Ruin, it just bounces off his head and falls down. Whereas the Hunter one, it's so good, it attaches to bosses. It goes from like stasis to solar, very strong, and the Warlock Prismatic Nade is strong as well. If we were allowed to change these nades in some way, yeah, that would make things different as well. Because, you know, some of the characters are a bit more stronger on Transcendence than others. So I'm going to spawn in the boss, kill the Acolytes first, because we don't want Acolytes up nading us while we're DPSing, or damaging the boss, that is. We'll get a turret down right away in mid, and we're just going to do a little bit of chip damage. We're waiting for enemies to spawn in, to be honest. We'll make sure that we get devoured to proc. Well, it will anyways with Arc Soul, because how strong Arc Soul is. So we're going to have, you know, we're going to have an uptime on all these abilities, and we're not really thinking about it. We won't really have to think too much about stuff. Only that we're popping turrets, you know, reasonably well in good positions, and then you're decent enough. What I want to do here is get the boss to attack me with its arc so that I can just risk runner the boss down, because I don't want to spam too much ammo at the start of the fight. Never do that. Alright, like sort of calculate your ammo drops as you go, and you know, more ammo you got at the end of the fight, generally it's better. This was my old playstyle, I'll be honest, from the old GMs, but I seem to have carried this playstyle from over the years and still sort of play like that. Especially if it's the first time you're doing something like this. Was my first Master Nightfall this week, so I played a little bit more passive in terms of ammo usage. Because, well, it didn't matter to me, you know, either way. I was just looking to get a clear first score, get a video, boom, and then I'm on to something else. I don't want my entire existence to revolve around this, which it won't do, because it's really easy. But say it was hard, I wouldn't want it to be my entire existence, because Destiny 2 is busy right now with a lot of things going on. This is just to get an upload going for my algorithm. That is it. That's what it is. And like I said, GMs come out next week, and you know, things are going to change. So we're going to take down the shield with the LMG. Boss is still hit with that strand stuff, whatever. We'll get a turret down. So once that boss goes immune, see, the boss is clearly marked HP wise on all the phases. Apart from the thralls, they spawn intermittently between like a half of a block of HP, etc. But on this phase, you want to get your turret down in advance. If you can get a turret down at the back of the map as well, like near to the back of the map, you'll kill all the you'll freeze all the barriers. Then you can just go in with RISKRUNNER or the sidearm. You have choices, or machine gun, and just do it like this. Like, there was no need for a linear. I could have run a linear, you know, or even maybe a rocket. Could have done, but anything would work with this, I suppose, as long as you've got some champ mods on weapon wise. I definitely recommend the sidearm though. Ultimately, definitely, because it's unstoppable sidearm. It's a special weapon that's very strong in the game right now, and you would use it anyways, even if there wasn't unstoppable champions. Like, if it was a different GM, you still might use it anyway. So it's really good. So we're going to pop a turret down on this location here, and then do super. Our goal is to do the full bar. I know that there's going to be enemies spawning behind us, but if you're quick enough, we can sort of get rid of the boss. And the turret next to me will freeze the ads once they push like that, if you see what I'm saying. But yeah, that's totally safe to do. As long, like, if you're lower power than me, maybe look to your right occasionally just to make sure that the cursed thrall don't explode on you, because that is the chance of death there. That's where you would overcommit to damage. But for me, I won't overcommit because I'm high enough power. I'm meeting the power cap, which is 2010, and I was 2010 in this run. So it just made things a little easier, just because of that. Because I'm only minus 20 delta. So it means everything's doing a little bit more damage and everything's a little bit more consistent. For every single power level less you are, the little bit less consistent it gets. Once you get to 2000 power or less, launch a Master Nightfall at 2000 power, you will find the Nightfall to be less consistent, you will get one shot by things more often, etc, etc. If you haven't got galvanic armor on, like I suggested. You know, if you didn't have galvanic armor on, maybe you're on a Titan with no build per se, you would find this slightly more difficult than what this run was. So Unstoppable Champion spawns on this phase as well. Notice as well, if an Unstoppable's booming you on one side, strafe to the other. Remember, these Unstoppable Champions are dumb. They locate your last location if you're behind cover. This is a big thing that I see a lot of people don't utilize cover properly, and they don't understand how enemies interact with cover in this game. And there is an interaction there. You just don't know how it works, but it works different enemy per enemy basis. But ogres in particular, and hydras, you can actually lump ogres and hydras as the same enemy type in terms of AoE damage, booming, zooming you all the time. Yeah. Well, if you're behind a piece of cover and he's booming you on the left, guess what? You've got right side. Yeah, you do chip damage on the right. Oh, the hydra's like, oh, he's on the right side, lads. He starts zooming you on the right, then you go left. And he's like, oh, he's on the left. They don't learn. So you just need to do that. Use the cover, right? That is the biggest thing. Understand your environment skills, because that's my biggest skill, by the way. That's my biggest strength is game design frickin' analysis. That's what my strength is. No, I'm just joking, but analyzing the arena, especially when there's new arenas, like look for places where you can stand, look for places where you can fight enemies and establish quickly, like really quick, where can I stand to do effective damage here? And that's what I was thinking yesterday when we were doing the Grandmaster Witness. I was thinking that the entire run, where can I stand here? I quickly established right hand side on the Grandmaster Witness was great. Left hand side was ridiculous. Nobody left hand side was being effective at all because there's nowhere to really stand, and there's a good hand that keeps spawn killing people on left hand side Witness, the GM version. So that's just I'm giving you an example of when something new comes out that you haven't played at GM level, quickly try to establish where would be good to stand. That's all I'm saying. I don't need to know it because for Disgraced at least, because Disgraced has been out a long time now. It's been out ages. I don't know how. I can't mind how many years, but it's been out a while. Enough to know that everything about it. I know literally enough about this to basically not fail on any loadout. The only way I would fail is if I didn't have a champ mod, basically, to that level. And that's what these videos are trying to show people is like, we all run it at different speeds. And I don't care how quick you are as well. There's always somebody in the world quicker than you. It doesn't matter who you are. This is true for anything in sports, in anything in the world. There's always somebody better. But what this will do is, if you watch the video from start to finish, it puts everyone on a level playing field. That you will do it. Alright? It doesn't matter because you know how not to wipe. And that's all you really need to know is how not to wipe. Where to stand, where to fight from. That's it. And then the build is the icing on the top. But like, I could run a Titan run the exact same as this, but you would make some slight alterations in terms of how we push. Maybe weapon loadout would be slightly different. We might have to be a bit more specific on fragments and a bit more health regen. Maybe run Red Death, you know, stuff like this. But ultimately, the playstyle would be similar, just that we wouldn't have Devour. That is a big difference, like, but that would be the big difference. So look at this, like, we've used our Transcendence here. We're doing massive AoE damage to both adds and boss. We're going to pop super to finish boss off so that we don't need to kill the final wave. Look at the amount of damage it's doing. It's doing good damage. That's why I'm saying Song of Flame, it's one of the best Nightfall supers you can use, basically. Better than Nova in this use case, but Nova's better for weakening bosses in dungeons, raids, etc. That was a solo for this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.